Welcome to the Rollwise Podcast, the weekly show that explores all things RPGs. This week, we continue our exploration of JRPGs with our two friendly RPG enthusiasts, Brent
Hello, everybody.
and Jeff.
Hey, everyone.
And I'm your host, Mike. And so I think we can go ahead and jump into this. For those of you that were here last week, we started our journey into Fabula Ultima with a little bit of the sessionzero world creation process. We've decided to create our world Ur based on the naming table that they have. Ur is a cataclysmic planet that has suffered through a great tragedy, causing the entire surface to blast out into various levels. That being the dead zone, the far out layer of space where nothing can live and is uninhabitable. And then, of course, you have your Goldilocks zone, the habitable zone, where all of our oases float endlessly. And of course, the people eke out a survival. And so tonight we're going to continue our world creation process. We're going to have some fun finishing that up, and then we are going to hopefully start our group creation process, which is, what kind of characters these guys hope to play in the world we've created together as we continue each step of this. And so, are you guys excited to continue fleshing out the world of Ur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so as a kind of a starting point here, we gave ourselves homework because we're assholes to ourselves, and everybody loves homework. And each of us had taken it upon ourselves to look at one of the various oases from last week, take it offline, kind of mull it about in our head, get out the whiteboard, and think about what that country should be. And this is a little bit of engagement that it's not, I think, unique to this system, but it is a nice part about world building that I'd like, because it does create some engagement. So our world is becoming more unique, of course, through the combination of our efforts. So why don't we go ahead and start with you, Jeff? Why don't you give us a little bit of background and insight about the oases that you've taken, and let us know what a potential location in the world of Ur looks like.
Okay. The oasis that I have is Zepro, and it is the oasis that's, where technology really rules the area. The populace tends to be higher educated, in order to use the technologies and develop the technologies and continue inventing more technologies. The technology is shared in my vision of this, and readily available to the citizens of Zepro. In some cases, things are licensed to outsiders, but usually not the newest and most exciting technologies. I think that we're at a point in Ur where there is some tension with the other oases. Like, you got past that whole cataclysm and survival thing and reestablishing civilization, and now the power brokers are out to a degree. And so I think that there's some, political drama with the other oases, especially given the different beliefs that they all have.
Sure.
Zepro is heated by a very large and complex steam engine. I think there's a little bit of a steampunk vibe, maybe not a full-on one, as much as you can in other places, but I think that there's definitely some. The people of Zepro believe that technology and science are the universal truths.
Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself is the thing that, they look to when they are in crisis. Their other ideas are accepted as long as they're held beneath, that whole science in the hierarchy of their beliefs. Mm-hmm. So there are people that believe in religion and magic and the other things that occur on Ur. But mm-hmm. if you live in Zepro, technology and science are your, I guess, math and science maybe are your gods. The people of Zepro encourage their citizens to travel to other areas and bring back the best and the brightest and new ideas and things like that, because they're wanting to continue to develop new technologies. They will sell or license a lot of technologies. Probably the newest, coolest stuff winds up being more licensed stuff than outright sales, but things for airships and stuff like that. Um, they've recently started trying to transplant some creatures from the surface, so they can have some sort of animal life. There's probably some artisans that have created some clockwork versions of things like fish and birds and maybe like dragonflies, stuff like that. But there's not a lot of other creatures that live in Zepro other than the people.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is that real creatures consume resources and don't necessarily give anything back to the society. But I'm not, we can talk about that one. There is a lot of industry, so there is a lot of jobs, but a lot of them are kind of low-paying factory type work. So if people have a lot of talent, they continually get poached from other companies, or they go to other oases to apply their trades. So I think there's starting to become some problems with the economy. Everybody's like, again, we're maturing to a point where some of these things are happening. So Zepro from the outside sort of looks like this technological paradise, but I think that there's some cracks starting to show in the utopian vision of the people who founded it, and the guild's coming off the lily just a little bit.
Gotcha. So, and that makes perfect sense. I think that, when you describe Zepro, it kind of reminds me of would it, you imagine it more being like the smoky, dirty, grimy techno, society, or would you kind of imagine it being like, more like, more clean, obviously, because technology allows them to have, they don't burn fuel for lights. They have light sticks of sorts. You know what I'm saying? Like, which kind of vision did you take that?
I was going a little more clean. I wasn't going the full, chugging smokestack in the sky.
Zepro, you can tell where it's gone.
I thought about it, right? You've got to make choices. I thought for the type of game we were talking about doing, I would go a little less grimy, even though there are parts of that they're not shown. We keep those in this in this area behind these doors.
Yeah, but you basically like a robot could go around picking up trash out of the park kind of thing.
Right.
Or some automaton or something like that.
There's some sort of automaton or clockwork, robots or automated, things to do some of the really menial tasks. But you can't get rid of all of the menial tasks, right? There's still some guy there's still some guy with a line of broken robots out his door that goes in every day in a dark room and fixes the robots and turns it around, right?
Sure.
Like that's not super utopian, but somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. I mean, as we've discussed, the world of Ur is not based on utopia; it's based on tragedy. So
no, that's true. But in my mind, Zepro had captured this moment where they, like I said, from the outside, I think it looks kind of magical and like, well, those guys got it all.
It looks fairly utopian. Yeah,
that's fine.
I don't know. That was what I thought. I'm not.
I think that fits. I think that fits
collaboratively.
Okay. I think that fits a good JRPG anime type aesthetic. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think you did really good there. I think it's pretty. I think it's easy to include Zepro as one of the oases and one of the vibes that you can have.
I was trying to set some parameters. I haven't done a ton of world building, so this is kind of new for me, and I had some other more specific ideas, but they didn't tend to jibe with some of the other thoughts, so I kind of moved past them. But
no, I think you did really good. Honestly, that was very informative for the kind of mindset, and I think you hit some good JRPG stuff with that, and especially since you can kind of imagine people may have the stuff that they need, but may not be happy about it because that it's like if you don't need anything, you kind of have to pursue that greater thing like art creation, all that kind of stuff. And if everyone's trying to do that, you'll run into a different problem. You run into these weird bottlenecks where not everyone can create everything.
No, exactly. So, and I also think, like I said, I think, the power brokers and the people that want to consolidate wealth are starting to go, oh, we're not in survival mode anymore. And it was all fine and dandy when we shared all of this with all of our citizens and gave it to them for really low prices or for free to make the quality of life better. But now I want more.
Yeah. Well, remember, I mean, there's a movie I think that's very famous where they say "greed is good," right? I mean, that's the line.
Oh yeah. so I figured the nature of humans,
Sure.
I figured there would be some of that. So there's some cracks. There's definitely some cracks.
I like it.
So there's things to explore. There's potential conflict.
Yeah. All right. So, Brent, do you want to hit it up next?
Sure. So I had Acheron, which was the necromancer state. Which one of the things that's kind of funny is that there is some similarity between Acheron and Zephyros in that they also have a resource to do most of their menial tasks. They actually have a zombie undead that does all of their menial tasks, most of them. So that's like the lowest class in Acheron. They do have kind of their political and economic system is set up in a guilders system. So there's different guilds, like there's a philosopher's guild, there's the artist's guild, there's an embalmer's guild that tries to keep their zombie resources together for as long as possible. Kind of culturally, the way that I look at them is they're kind of a Romanate system, both in kind of aesthetics and organization. Highly military, unless you're some sort of philosopher or artist. They're fairly isolationist. And part of the reason that they're isolationist is because they're actually all infected with a fungal blight, which is one of the things that leads them to be zombies when they die. This is something that everyone in Acheron has, but not anyone outside of Acheron actually knows. So usually when Acheronians leave, like if they usually only send out emissaries to the other states or the other Wacies, and when they do, they're usually heavily garbed in face masks and suits, so you don't see Acheronians without like elaborate masks and stuff very often. So they'll have like a Romanate toga, but they'll have an undergarment under it that's like skin tight. And then like some sort of elaborate masks or war helms. And if you do see their skin, the way that the blight is often patterned on their skin, it looks more like a painting on their skin, like elaborate body painting, than a fungal crust, which is what it really is. For animals, mostly it's livestock type animals. I feel like Acheron is very urbanized. Like almost every single part of it is some sort of structure. Any wildlife is what can come up through the cracks of their very urbanized oasis. I think it also has the largest landmass. I don't know why that stuck out to me as a thing, but it also has the lowest population for reasons.
Well, lowest population or lowest living population?
By population, I mean living population is what I mean. So, and that's kind of Acheron in a nutshell.
No, that's good. I think that's very distinct. I like it. And so it's interesting that they kind of have their own. They hide their disfigurement, quote unquote, or their impairment from everyone else. So, but it's interesting that the fungus doesn't kill them; it just waits till they die.
Right, and they think it's a gift. They kind of think it's a
life after death, right?
Yeah, they kind of think it's special to them. So that's one of the reasons that they don't really share it with people very often. So,
I like the no contact rule. Yeah. It creates an air of mystery that I'm sure there's just rampant speculation from other quarters.
There's probably rumors like they're all dead. Like there's just ghosts on Acheron.
Do they have a particular smell? Out of curiosity, not if you. I'm just out of curious. Do you think that
I will leave that up to you because I didn't think of one, but probably.
Oh, they smell like rose water.
If they do they cover it? Like, do they perfume or scent themselves some way?
If it smells like death blossom, yes. If you decide it smells like roses or something like that, then no.
Oh yeah, it could just oddly smell of exactly roses, lilac, something.
Almonds. It has that strange almond smell.
Yeah.
What is that? Gross, sweet smell.
Did somebody just poison me?
Well, you know when the Acheronians are nearby because you get the smell of patchouli mixed in with earth and dust. You know,
It would be if it would be all if it was something like that. It would also
So they
be more
smell like
ruminate.
festival hippies.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Can I say that? I'm sorry.
that's
I'm not
that's
trying
that's
to
what
insult
that's what
anyone,
I'm
but-
correcting. If they do cover the sense of the blight, it would be something. It would be something more romanate, like sandalwood and that sort of thing. Like sandalwood and rose
Sure.
would be more common, something like that.
Nice.
okay.
And they are probably the most warlike of the oases because they don't share as often, so they have to take because of their
Interesting.
isolationist.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that makes them an interesting power to be jockeying for, their position on the totem pole, and it gives me some fuel, I think, in order to decide some of the stories and how that fits in. Okay. Well then, Jeff, do you have any questions before we move on to the last
No, I
corners?
like it. I
No,
like the world we're constructing here.
It is fun. So I'm gonna go through Torin, which I've decided is the Ascended Citadel. The city-state of Torin, Torin, not Torian. I guess it could be Torian if we wanted it to be.
Yeah, you can change it. It's fine.
Is that you have this kind of bastion that structurally reaches towards the heaven, known to many as the Citadel and or the Spire. It is kind of a testament to the belief system of the Torinese. Well, I think Torinese would be what it was.
So you have to be careful. It's not Taurens, like in bull people.
I don't. That we're saying stuff that is legally distinct from whatever cow things you might be describing.
Okay.
So
I know one of us plays a game that might have a word in it that has similar sounding consonants. So
don't know what you're talking
just
about.
thought I'd point that out.
So the Torinese. So the foundation of the city is, I think, important. As we discussed last time, the foundation was laid by a being called the Ascended One, somewhat a mysterious and enigmatic person that emerged from the cataclysm with powers beyond mortal comprehension. Whether or not it is God or mortal, nobody really knows. But the Ascended One had proclaimed themselves the savior of the world and guardian of its fragile equilibrium. The residents bought into this line, pretty much hook, line, and sinker, and they revere the Ascended One in kind of a religious, and have developed a religion around this being. The residents themselves are known as the devout, and they're basically bound by their unshakable faith in this enigmatic figure. Some people believe they're divinely graceful. Other people believe they're shackled souls to this unknown, this entity of unknown origins. Ooh, spooky. So a couple things that make Torin unique is that anybody that is a citizen of Torin is basically adorned with anklets, bangles, and a choker. These bear ornate markings that signify the weight of their sins. These intricate adornments kind of mirror one's adherence to the Ascended One's virtues. And of course, if those virtues become too heavy, they actually face a ceremony of public exile. A ritual that involves them casting them off this grand pier that's constructed over the abyss, or the core of Ur.
And the Acheronians just fly a boat under it.
Secretly.
They might. Obviously the spectacle this creates is something that people view kind of like a public execution, right? So there's
Right.
going to be it's going to be viewed as quite the event, and so it's kind of like a reminder to people to commit to the beliefs of the Ascended One, and of course, those that fail face exile and tossing into the abyss, and those that succeed live in kind of the Shining City, the kind of thing. The actual yes, of course. That the Oases isn't. I would say it's not necessarily the largest one, but it has. They have kind of the central oases, and they've of course taken other oases and connected them via sky bridges to them. So that's where they do some of their farming and all those other things that sustain their life. But the central oases is adorned with a large tower. I think the easiest way to think of this tower would be something like Burj Khalifa. You guys know what Burj Khalifa looks like? Like that just...
Yeah, I saw the movie. I'm just kidding. Mission Impossible. Right?
Oh,
Where you
okay.
climb up
I
the
was like,
outside of
the
the
movie?
Burj.
I was like, why did Burj get a movie? Like, I mean, I guess you like
It's literally in every movie now. There's just a shot. There's just stock footage of the Burj.
It's true, but it is a very interesting building in my opinion because of its very spire-like appearance. Because it's very wide and kind of goes up to a singular point. I've seen photos from the top of Burj Khalifa, and I would definitely not be caught dead at the top of that thing, whatever hooked into the ladder. No way. But the point about this is at the very top of this gigantic spire, supposedly the ascended one, rules the city state of Torin. It in his what, benevolence or something like that. So Torrens, the Torinese, they, since they're kind of religious and kind of everything is steeped in reverence and everything like that, they do pray a lot. So like part of their daily devotions and everything like that are, in the morning they devote themselves to the ascended one and everything. And of course, this is just one of their virtues that shows their commitments. They do have flowing garb, so it tends to be loose and baggy, but it also tends to be, it tends to, when you think about artistry and you think about like divine and everything kind of floats. That's the way that these garments kind of float. Not like the togas or the Romanesque stuff like Brent, but more like it's European clothing, but it looks very light and airy, almost silky.
Well, yeah, they're kind of obsessed with floating, right? So it makes sense that their clothes would be pretty flowy.
Yeah, so it's very light, like very muslin like flat fabrics and everything like that. But they do love the colors, blues and golds and everything, because that ties into their kind of radiance, luminescence, all that kind of stuff. The names that, because they're still keeping with that whatever celestial elements, that's the word I'm looking for. The names are all kind of based in like with the celestial elements, so it's not uncommon to see people that are like Solara, Solaris, Loomis, Seraphine, Vertan, things that you might kind of combine from those types of words. The major industries is that it is a scholarly place, but more from like a philosophical standpoint, not necessarily from a technological standpoint. Like, why is the greatest question that they go for, other than the ascended being like, what's our purpose here? And they try to, they try to translate the divine one's wills through these messages that he sends that are cryptic and kind of keeps them busy and all that. So in addition to that, they do have sacred relics that they use for trade with other countries that, because they're so spiritually imbued, other people purchase with high value. And of course, other kinds of artistry and stuff like that. As for things that they worry about the typical monsters, gargantuan leviathans that float the skyways, shadowy phantasmagors, apparently Archeronians that are just hanging around under their island with their boat, void shapers, whatever, anything like that. So yeah, so that is the city of Torin, religious citadel of the righteous. Any questions?
No, I think that's cool.
I think it's cool too. How do the bracelets and anklets and necklace, how do they get heavier when they sin? Is it like self-reported and they physically do something? Are they magic?
Well, I was thinking about that the other day, and I had not come to a conclusion as of yet, because I was still vacillating before, because I thought to myself, I was like, how virtuous of a life would you have to live in order for these things to automatically balloon up?
Well, no. I mean, I think it could be all metaphorical. Certainly, like you could have to put different marks for different types of sins onto them, and then the weight comes not from the actual physical thing on there. It's from you contemplating the consequences of your poor decisions and weighing yourself down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
It could be.
There's a lot to go. We don't have to flesh that out.
It's interesting because it'd be kind of self-confessional too, like
right.
So
yeah, maybe they're super into confessing and then self-flagellating and then walking with a stoop because they're, so
you just know a person. Sinners. You're like, oh, Todd, poor Todd.
But if you get a glimpse, you can see the markings, and like if you live there, like, oh, Bob did adultery again.
God damn it, Todd. Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Right. I don't. It's interesting. It's an interesting concept. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a juicy detail.
Obviously, it could get a lot more detail as we decide how everything goes. But I think as a basis, I think that's a really fun creative exercise that created 3 unique societies in the world of Ur that are obviously just good places where you can decide, hey, you could have a character from here or not. And I think the beauty of that in some ways is it almost allows you to kind of create your background a little bit, because I mean, after you go through this country creation and everything like that, one of the character components is you decide your origin. You almost might feel some affinity towards the place you create, and that could be your origin to help you continue doing that. Now, you don't have to. Now, somebody could be like, oh, I created this really cool place, and everyone's like, that is the coolest place ever. Let's all start from there. That could be our city origin kind of thing. But yeah, no, I think that was a lot of fun. I honestly enjoyed it. I enjoy world building and all that stuff. And I honestly, Jeff, I'm happy that you got a chance to dip that toe in there, because it's a fun exercise.
It is. And it's cool because there were definitely things that I didn't think about that I see the ways that you both approached it, which I have something to take away for next time. So thanks, guys.
Hey, well, I wouldn't consider myself an expert world builder, and I have to say that there are tons of resources for world building out there too. So if you really like, I'm not gonna talk about any right now, but I mean, there's a ton of books that people have published out there to even just give you kind of charts. Like I think Rain is one of them that people talk about with like world building, isn't it?
Well, Rain, one of the world building is a significant part of Rain. That's a game that's built around basically kingdoms that you built and how you manage them. Like it becomes part of the game, so it's very detailed. I think there's a game called Microcosm or something like that that's basically about world building. So yeah, there's lots of resources. If you're curious about any of the resources, ask in our comments, and Mike can get some of those for you. So
yeah, I mean, we could honestly spend an entire episode just discussing world building resources that we've seen. I'm not even sure we'd need to go just what we've seen, but maybe some of our favorite ones.
Well, and we could even some of our philosophies, because I have a little bit of a different philosophy about world building than I think both of you do, as far as what to do when planning for a game, or kind of what happens during a game and you're kind of doing collective world building.
What do you mean, Brent? You don't 100% agree with Jeff and I? Game on. No, just kidding.
I think the podcast would be a lot less interesting if we agreed on everything. If we all just nodded in unison at everything.
For the greater good, right? Yep. For the greater good. Okay. So with that being said, I think that actually has finished out the collective questionnaire that you have as part of your session 0. Now, from my perspective, and I think a lot of people that have run games, if you've run a lot of games, you probably have your own things that you like to do when building something kind of from scratch. And especially since this is such a collaborative storytelling thing, there are many resources that people have introduced that I've learned about over the years that have been really cool. But I think sticking with the session 0 stuff that they have in here, I think it's a solid enough start, honestly. I think you get a good enough beginning to the game that you can really go for it, especially with how the game is structured and everything. So next, we're going to move on to group creation. So unless anybody has any more that they want to add for that last chapter, we'll go ahead and go to the next component, group creation.
Nope, I think we're good. Actually, I will say one thing about the Fabula Ultima and this creation thing. The Fabula Ultima questions are really good. They are very detailed. So what I would encourage people is to not get overwhelmed with some of the stuff that they put in there. Like this, and this is a little bit of a different philosophy. Like, really try, in my opinion, you should try and hit the high points and construct like a framework for how you think the place looks. And then that can lead you, down the right path to make decisions later. You can easily get bogged down in a lot of minutia that makes it just too much, and you can get overwhelmed.
Well, and I think it's always interesting too, because I think what you could find is that if you like and this is always the tough part about playing in fleshed out worlds. Like if you're playing Pathfinder like we are, there's a certain sense of like the world existing, and you try not to do wrong by the existing content, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because nothing is worse than having a player at your table go, that's not how this part of the world goes, or something. And you start kind of countermanding the normal knowledge that they have. But the benefit of this is that you kind of get to create it. So if you're vague, like Brent says, you can fill in those gaps later when it's story relevant, rather than try to presuppose everything up front.
Right.
Yeah. So cool. So group creation. Next. All right. So group creation, it's not super structured, and there's not like a lot that goes into it, but it's what they suggest in here is that the structure is to understand and establish your fundamental themes of your early adventures. So as your group is coming together, like what are some of the themes that they're playing around? Because you've just created a world. It's like, well, how do you want to interact with this world, and what parts of the world do you want your story to focus on? And so it's kind of like this step helps you create your characters. Whereas I think in the past, I've always created characters and then tried to do the group thing. So I think this is kind of a different approach for me, to be like, well, what kind of group do you want to have? And then what kind of character do you want to be part of that group? So I don't know if you guys have ever had this similar type experience, but this is kind of a first for me, where I did group and then characters.
Well, I think most games suggest that, frankly. It's just that usually people ignore it because it's funner to make the characters first and then figure out how everybody's talking. But that's how you wind up with the we all meet in a tavern problem. So yeah.
Mysterious letter on your bedstand.
Yeah.
Hey, the first time you meet in the tavern, it's kind of exciting. The 27th time where the DM's just like, so you all meet in a tavern. It's like,
please come to the spooky house.
Do I have to? Yeah.
Well,
the funny thing invited.
Yeah, the tough part about it for me is that, like, I don't know when it was, but I kind of started shying away from the organic group cohesion thing, where you started as separate characters and then you played the group formation shtick. I think
it's because it's hard.
It's hard.
It's because it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Because often what happens when you do the organic group formation is like there's this weird thing where player characters will stay together because you're a group of people playing a game, so they all stay together. And occasionally you'll have those moments where it's like, why do we all hang out together? Like, what common interests do we really have? None. Okay.
How did two thieves wind up with a paladin?
Yeah.
To pull it into fantasy type stuff.
Exactly. Why does the paladin just not murder the thief that just stole everything from that old lady?
He turned a blind eye, turned the other cheek. That's what
there's a greater purpose. The cause is too great.
There's a greater purpose for the rogue being an asshole all the time.
Okay. So with that in mind, we're going to start with just the group, kind of the group and everything like that. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk about them a little bit, and then we'll kind of bounce back and forth, and we'll see if there's one that stands out to you guys as much as possible, because considering it is a smaller group game. Now, I think that I don't remember if I read that Fabula Ultima had a required group size. I mean, obviously games are typically easier the more players you have in terms of like combat balancing and stuff like that. Well, there's a good group size. Having 20 players in the group doesn't make it easier, I guess, for somebody, aka the GM. And having 1 or 2 players can actually be the reverse, is that you don't have enough power in the group to sometimes handle basic combat equations or not, combat encounters and stuff like that.
It depends on the game. If it's a narrative game, you're probably fine with whatever party you want.
Yeah.
If it's a more mechanical game, party balance could be a problem.
It can be.
And it might be a crappy game.
Moving on. So we have 5 premises that are advised in here, and the first one is brought together by fate. Usually, the you find yourself working together because of circumstances. This is a fairly common, like, oh, we all happen to be together, we all happen to be adventurers, and we all happen to find a sudden purpose that we all move together and then form our party and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, this would be we've been arrested and we're in the same cell. We wake up with amnesia together. We are both hired by the same person to do a thing.
Yeah. And in this one, they suggest that it can be a little bit tricky to pull off because you're brought together by fate to do what? You don't really have a destination. You're just now together. And in this game, because they use things like bonds and stuff like that, you can develop bonds in ways to create kind of a network of relationships, and that's what you can use eventually to propel yourself forward. But if you develop a goal, they suggest that you actually choose to a different group type once you've got that goal figured out.
Yeah, the only one I don't like is for 2 people would be the Guardian one, the Guardians.
Okay.
Because that relegates one of us to sidekick immediately.
Okay. So the Guardians is interesting unless you're doing a 2 because you have a leader and a follower because it is basically one of the players as a chosen one, a person tasked with a mission that could change the very fate of the world. Everyone else in your group has sworn by duty or choice to protect the chosen one during the travels. So if Brent was the golden child, Jeff would immediately be the bodyguard.
So, exactly.
And that doesn't, it could be the other way around. Maybe the bodyguard
I could be
is the
Samwise. I could be cook / bodyguard.
Right. Which like, right. No, exactly. Like I guess that's what I'm saying is like, there's a dynamic there, but it's a very specific dynamic.
It is. And I think some
2
stories, sorry, Brent, go ahead.
Especially if there's only 2 of us, it becomes very specific. It becomes Samwise and Frodo or, shit, I know there's other ones that I can't. Dumb and Dumber.
What was in that? Did anybody watch?
I don't know. Dumb and Dumber, they were kind of equal. Although only one was on the quest.
That's fair.
Chosen one is very loose in that.
The golden child, Eddie Murphy, and the little kid.
Golden child and Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. So it actually asks some good questions. And so if you choose based on the group, it wants you to explore these types of questions. With Guardians, it says what bonds, ties, or rivalries exist between each Guardian and the chosen one. So like, it may not be an entirely amicable thing. Think of the Fellowship, right? The Fellowship of the Ring was not exactly friendly. There was that Boromir guy that I think, he eventually turned good in the end, but he had some very self-interested, selfish choices they made along the way regarding that ring and how it would, do its thing for him.
But that's also, but again, that's also 8 people.
That was a lot. No, there was a lot.
Brent's
right.
That's what I'm saying is like the chosen one in a bigger party would, I think, be fine because there's that it's easier for everybody to get a little. There isn't just a hey, you're the chosen one. What does that make me? Your sidekick.
Well, you can be the chosen one. I'll be the unchosen one. But I agree. I think it works better with more people.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good example. But I do think, and I don't want to
unless I'm Cato and have all kinds of skills. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the other. That's the Frodo Samwise problem too. Is Frodo's incompetent and Samwise's out there killing it, doing everything he can to protect lazy ass. Stop crying and get up and walk to the fucking mountain. We have a job.
Stop crying. You're the only one that can do it, Mr. Frodo. I'm only doing this because you're here.
Exactly.
But the point is that as you guys have just explained there are some good opportunities depending on how you want to flesh it out. I could easily see if you're not careful having a power dynamic where Bran is making all the choices, but I could easily also see it where it's it still has the typical party dynamic and all that stuff. So I would say I wouldn't discount it out of hand. I just think it would have some challenges that you'd want to think through.
I agree with Brent. I mean, if we're going to pick one for our group for this
Mhm.
specific story, I'm okay axing that one.
Yeah, for a duo, it's going to be easy for one of us in any duo. I'm not talking about just us, and I may be talking about me a little bit. It would be easy for one person to be like, "I'm special. I'm the main character. I'm the chosen one."
There's a subreddit dedicated to me. I am the main character. Yeah, you're the TikTok star. Moving on.
Please get my pack. No, don't hand it to me. Please carry it.
Get it and carry it down the way. Okay, so then there are 3 more. There's the moving on. Fuck you, Bull. Heroes of the
I think there's 4 more. Or did we?
We kind of glossed over the brought together by fate one because
Fate,
it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, and I think that it's
It
really the choice that you choose before you choose another choice.
That's the tavern option.
You're all in a jail cell.
We all get our intricately written intro stories, Brent.
I'm gonna buy that guy a drink, and then you just hang out together.
Or, I mean, I hate to say this, but there are those Acronian barges apparently that go around capturing people. They may be dead.
Exactly. Like I said, we've been in prison.
So the next one is Heroes of the Resistance. You are the last line of defense against a terrible power, a darkness that threatens to envelop the known world, such as a power-hungry kingdom or oppressive empire. So I think this one easily works out in this because, as obviously there is some scarcity of resources in this post-cataclysmic world, and I could easily see one of these city-states, these superpowers, vying or jockeying for total control, to ensure that their city-state survives, whereas the other ones survives and thrives, and the other ones die or be assimilated, kind of thing.
Obviously, the Ascended one is the bad guy, and we should be trying to kill him.
Could be. I mean, it is kind of a super cool place that I created. No. I'm just kidding. No, I mean that's easy. I mean, as I said before, I think the enigma about him, whether he's a god or not, lends itself some very interesting questions. Whether he has the best for people that are survivors in this new cataclysmic world is another good question. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of good questions about that stuff, and I think that could apply to any of them.
I think we all know which one's the best with its free labor.
Yeah. So the questions that they have here is that, why is this daunting task up to you? So, like, why would you be the heroes of the resistance?
Have you one of you the chosen one?
Well, because Brent is the chosen one. Welcome to Sidekick Hood. Yeah, I apologize.
Brent has self-anointed himself. I'm okay with that.
No, that is not.
I don't have a problem with that.
I have a problem with it.
But it is funny how the two of them tie together so easily. Like because you had Frodo and Samwise, but then really the rest of those guys in the Fellowship were the heroes of the Resistance. Like
it's true, yeah,
almost literally from every race.
Yeah,
they were the heroes of the. They had actual skills.
Yeah, they were actually good at their job.
Battle tested, hardened survivors.
Yeah.
Okay. And so like, do you know the enemy that you're fighting, or are they relatively unknown and all that kind of stuff? Do you know your factions who are friendly and enemies? And if you know the enemy, do you know like who are the infamous among them? Like, and to continue with our Lord of the Rings analogy, I mean, do we know we're fighting against the, Sauron, or do we know it Saruman? You know what I'm saying? Do we know those people's names and all that kind of stuff?
Stab the goblins. We all know that.
There's a bunch of goblins. We don't know any of their captains, their leaders, structure, or anything. We just kill goblins.
If my knife glows blue, stab it.
All right. So we're going to move away from Lord of the Rings references and move on to Disney references.
I'm skewing more towards Terminator now with Sarah Connor and the dude from the future.
Also the chosen one. I mean,
technically her son was the chosen one.
The sad thing is like if you start looking at things that way, it becomes like such a common trope in a lot of different stories. So
it does. It ties into a lot. Like he did a good job getting these very. I mean, they're very broad. If you zoom out just a little bit, I think it's a nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it covers the gamut of a lot of different types of stories.
It does. So let's move to the fourth one, known as revolutionaries. You form a small force that fights tooth and nail against a dominant power. Might be a tyrannical government, a military occupation, or even a ruthless industrial company. So this is, I think we've all seen those revolutionary stories and everything like that to know,
Star Wars,
fight against
or
the
just
Empire.
our boss at the Quickie Mart who won't let us off on Saturday night to go to a concert.
Again, this could be as small or as big as you
want
it to be.
Man. Fight the power.
That's the plot of my next Unknown Armies game. So let's not go there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The last one is Seekers. You're desperately searching for someone or something, a powerful witch, an ancient relic, a legendary location, or even a long-lost technological marvel. So in that one, you're also the chosen one, searching for something important.
Well, you're not chosen yet.
As a group,
you have to survive long enough to get to work up to chosen one.
I'm not fucking saying Bob is the chosen one. We are a group, and we're doing this together.
So in terms of like different types of stories that you kind of want the part of the game to be themed around, does any of those stand out to you?
The two I like are Heroes of the Resistance or the Seekers ones.
Okay.
I kind of like Seekers or Revolutionaries. I'm not against Heroes of the Resistance. I just don't think in the world that we've constructed to date, we have that ancient terrible power or darkness. There could be. I mean, the seeds of it are there. But those three, the three on this page in the book, are my favorites.
Okay.
But I was probably gravitating towards Seekers or Revolutionaries, but I'm not opposed to Heroes of the Resistance either. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm with Brent. Guardians doesn't really work, and Brought Together by Fate, we've done too many games like that. Let's just
sure. That's fair.
How did you come to the creepy mansion? I just had a feeling that something was happening.
It's just the oh hey, we're adventurers now.
Hey.
Oh hey. We're
Okay.
a party now.
There's 7 of us here.
So
we should travel together for safety.
So let's talk a little bit about this part here, which is the questions. And I think the questions are good to kind of answer just so I get a sense for the type of theme and everything like that. Let's see. What do we have? So what is it you're trying to prevent or remedy?
I was going to let Jeff go first.
No, I think that we woke up one morning and we're trying to find Brent's car. There's something important in the car, and we need to find it.
There's another classic buddy film for you that doesn't have a chosen one.
But there's not a chosen one.
Exactly. I was thinking Bill and Ted, but
Yeah, I went straight to Dude, Where's My Car? So
Dude, Where's My Car? Dumb and Dumber. So we're trying to. You're muted.
Sorry. So you're trying to prevent the loss of your car?
We could be searching for an airship.
Yeah, we could be searching for an airship. We need to get somewhere.
What is this airship?
I mean, that's just a thought. We could do the airship. We could do.
Because that's the next one is what are you searching for? But it's what are you trying to prevent or remedy? Is that anything that you're?
Well, that's what I was thinking. Is it prevent or remedy? I mean, I think one of the easiest ones would be we're trying to prevent one of the city states from becoming the main city state or from destroying another city state.
Okay. So basically like try to kind of equalize the power structure.
Or bring all the city states together.
Yes, like there's some like somebody's is trying to start a war or something. I guess that winds up being Heroes of the Resistance, even if you don't feel like it right at first.
That was the
Sure.
thought that I had. That
Okay. Sure.
Heroes of the Resistance was
Okay. Yeah, I don't mind something like that where we come across something or someone or we learn something that we didn't know.
We're trying to find the fable of universal healthcare.
Sure.
free healthcare for all. Blessings upon you.
That is a little too close to reality. Moving on.
Acaronians get free healthcare.
Yeah, forever. Yep. So, what do you know of your mission? Will you know your mission in part or in details?
It feels like we're leaning on. So jump in, Brent. Tell me if I'm wrong, but the vibe I'm picking up is that we sort of, or that's in my head, anyways, is that we sort of discover something, right? How we discover it, I don't know if we meet somebody that has, information they're trying to get to one of the governments to prevent the takeover, or somebody leaves something somewhere and we discover it, but we find something and slowly start to figure out its importance, and people figure out that we have it, and
I was thinking
are trying to stop us. Okay, what were you thinking?
I was thinking that maybe a spy in one of spies in one of the city that's going to come to power or dominate or whatever, or has this thing that they found, have brought information back that this is going to happen, and so for some reason we were picked by the government, our respective islands or oases, or whatever the
Oases.
Where we were picked by our specific oases to go and find this item to stop them from coming to power. That's what I kind of thought.
Okay, we can do that. That works for me.
All right.
The ancient surface-to-air missile that's going to shoot down the other oasis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. The first thing that popped in my head was just like, you found the ironclad of the sky.
Somebody was just trying to mine for a little more iron, and they found a cruise missile intact.
They what was that? Is that Planet of the Apes with the where they worshipped the nuclear bomb?
Yep. Yeah.
One of them.
No, it's
2 or 3.
It's 2, which I think is Return of the Planet of the Apes. I think there's Planet of the Apes, Return of the Talons, and then War for the Planet of the Apes. I think.
Okay. So, would you say that who gave this to you would be your respective oases?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody in some governmental leadership, military position.
Something. And they basically said, you guys have to work together.
Okay. And so, who doesn't want you to find what you seek? Is that
probably
the country?
Probably the people that are the country that has the bomb, whether it's an actual bomb or a disease or
incredible godlike power.
Right.
I'm not pointing fingers at who I think the person in the island is already.
Whoa. All right. Well, he in the lightest house can cast the first stone.
Well, I guess we really are going to defeat the patriarchy.
I mean, it could be the magic island. They're very mysterious right now because we don't do anything with them.
I always kind of figured that Koga was just kind of like, it was like the squabbling twin of mine, of the technology, of Zepros. Like because it's like, no. Anything magic can do, technology can do better. No, sir. Anything technology can do, magic can do better.
That's true.
And they're selling for all the same contracts with similar products based on different things. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the fabulous.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
That was how I saw Koga in my head a little bit.
It's fine. I think they built musicals to that effect. So
probably not.
Okay. And so what prompted each of you to join said respected mission?
Like the cut of our jib.
Yeah,
Whenever
I
you're
mean,
GM.
we're obviously people with the skills to get the job done, so or else we wouldn't have been chosen.
Okay.
Not chosen. Don't use that word.
Okay,
Otherwise,
right. Yeah,
So selected by
Selected.
lottery.
somebody either thought we were expendable enough or had the skills to stop something.
Okay.
One of the two
Expendable enough.
things.
You're not that important.
Okay.
I think that question. So this is one thing where I think group before character comes in. Is I think this is one question that could be better answered after you make your character, because you'll know what your character's skills are.
Maybe we have some specific knowledge of ancient munitions or political structures, or you know what I mean, something.
Well, and so I think so. Let's do this. So I think we've got a high enough thing is that you're trying to prevent the destabilization of the current equilibrium of power in the major Oasis factions. You're looking for the MacGuffin that could do this equilibrium disruption, and this is originating from intel being shared among possibly friendly powers that are trying to stop the other. And then, of course, really the part about why you were selected will come from the character creation. And I think we can fill in some of this stuff a little bit, and it gives me a little bit more idea after that. So would you guys be comfortable doing character creation next session?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
So
give us a little time to think about that now that we have some idea of the group.
Yeah, I think so. So I guess what we'll do is we'll call this the end of this week's session, this week's podcast. And so I think we want to give a big shout out to Emmanuel Galetto for, creating the game, giving us fun and having a lot of fun world building. And then, of course, we'll continue on.
And liking our comment on Twitter.
And liking our comment on Twitter.
If you're gonna pander, you might as well pander all the way.
Thank you. We really appreciate you at least checking in.
It's cool. It's cool to get some acknowledgement.
It actually really was
really
cool.
neat.
Yeah, it actually really was cool.
So with that, why don't you, Jeff, give us the socials, then Brent send us off into the evening.
Yeah, if you want to get a hold of us or have a comment, you can leave a comment below the video. You can reach us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as long as it's still called that, and Threads at Rollwise. And if you'd like to email us, you can email us at rollwiseguys@gmail.com.
As always, everybody, thank you for joining us for this session and episode. Almost 30 episodes in, so thank you, everybody. We keep getting those views, so thank you. And as always, be safe out there. Roll well and roll wise. Bye, everybody.
Bye.